Welcome to Weather Extra, the Great American Eclipse Special. I'm meteorologist Jillian Johnson. On Monday, April 8th, a total solar eclipse will cross North America, passing over Mexico, the United States, and Canada. Here in central Texas, majority of our area will be fortunate enough to be in the path of totality. Now, in the path of totality, weather permitting, of course, we should be able to see the sun's corona, a few planets, and maybe even a comet. The sky is also going to darken as if it were dawn or dusk. For more on what has to happen for a total solar eclipse, here's Gina DiBracchio, the Deputy Director of Heliophysics at NASA.
So an eclipse happens, a solar eclipse happens, when the moon crosses between the Earth and the sun. For this total solar eclipse, the moon is going to completely block out the sun and its shadow will be cast on the Earth. And so if you're lucky enough to be in that path of totality, you're going to see the outer corona of the sun. That's the upper atmosphere of the sun. If you're outside of that path of totality, you will have a partial eclipse, which means you won't be able to see that full totality, but you'll experience a partial eclipse nonetheless.
The United States had its last visible total solar eclipse back in 2017. Now, anytime an eclipse happens, it's a special occasion. But there are a few reasons as to why the 2024 total solar eclipse will be extra special. For more on how Monday's eclipse is different from the one back in 2017, here's NASA's mission scientist, Nicolene Vale.
This one is different than the one in 2017 for a few reasons. I got to see the one in 2017, so it was so amazing. The first is that the path of totality is coming over where more people live, and so more people will have the opportunity to see the total phase of the eclipse. The second thing is that the totality phase is going to last longer this time than in 2017, almost twice as long. This one will last for 4 minutes in the central line of totality there. And the third thing is the sun is more active right now. So in 2017, there was some activity. The corona had some structure, but in this phase, the sun is more active, so that corona, the atmosphere of the sun, is going to have more complexity, and we might even get to see a magnetic explosion happening on the sun during the eclipse.
Over the past couple of months, our team of meteorologists here at KWTX have had the opportunity to speak with numerous eclipse experts on our YouTube page, Degrees of Science. Many of you have numerous questions revolving around the eclipse, like what's going to happen during totality and what should we be looking for throughout the event. Here are some of those eclipse experts that have all the answers to your eclipse questions.
It's going to get darker. It's going to get colder. I think that's the biggest changes that we're going to observe. Babies cry. You're going to hear cicadas because the nature understands it's becoming nighttime. To me, I think it is the most beautiful natural phenomena that I have ever seen in my life.
It varies depending on where you are and what conditions you're in. It will vary based on cloud cover. So if you have a lot of clouds and you're in a more humid environment, you're not going to see as much of a temperature drop as somebody that is in a dry and clear environment. We did see in 2017 as much as a 30-degree drop in some locations, and some of those locations were actually kind of humid, so that surprised us a bit.
The corona is the outer layer of the sun, so if you can see that it's a diffuse kind of gas material that is around the sun. We cannot see it because the density is very low. When there is an eclipse, the sun is the surface of the sun, the photosphere is being covered by the moon, and we can see faint stuff. So you can see this diffuse structure on top of it.
Whenever we have the totality, it will get dark. It will get dark, dark. We will be able to see not only the most amazing things, which are the corona of the sun and the diamond ring and the 360 degrees sunset, but we're also going to be able to see stars, planets.
As the totality begins, the first thing you're going to notice about 15 degrees to the west of the moon and the sun, you'll see a very bright object, and that's going to be Venus. Then there's going to be also the other planets. You'll have Saturn and Mars also on the same side, a little bit further away. And then as you look to the east of the sun and the moon, and that's about 30 degrees, you'll see Jupiter. These are going to be fairly bright, so they'll be easy to see.
During this last bit, you can get some phenomena with your eclipse glasses. You can see just the broken up limb of the sun, that the little bit that's not yet covered up. And that's, it's broken up because a little bit of the sun is shining through just a few valleys along the moon's limb edge. And those are called Bailey beads. And then after that, the moon will continue to move over the disk of the sun, and these Bailey beads will only be there a few seconds before there's just one left. And around the rim, you can start to see the glow of the outer atmosphere of the sun, called the corona, and that is called the diamond ring effect, because it looks like that last bit of light that's shining through the valleys is like a diamond, and the rest of the surrounding faintly glowing atmosphere is like the ring.
But the other rare object that a lot of the amateurs are really expecting is that if you look at Jupiter towards the sun and the moon, it's going to be a comet. Comet 12P Pons-Brooks.
You just heard from those eclipse experts on what you need to look for throughout the eclipse. But what actually is the whole process? Here's more on the timeline of events for the total solar eclipse. There are distinct stages of a total solar eclipse, and throughout each stage, different features of the sun and outer space will be visible to us. A solar eclipse begins with first contact, when the moon starts to travel across the face of the sun. This is also known as the start to the partial eclipse. When the first contact stage starts, and for about the next hour and a half, skies will begin to darken as the moon continues to cover the sun. The next phase of a total solar eclipse is known as second contact. This happens as totality sets in. This is when people begin to notice changes to wildlife around them. This is also the time you may observe the phenomenon Bailey beads. As Bailey beads begin to disappear, a single bright spot of light will remain along the edge of the moon's shadow. That bright spot resembles a diamond, hence the name the diamond ring effect. Throughout the first and second phases of the solar eclipse, you must wear your eclipse safety glasses while looking at the sun. As soon as the diamond ring disappears, that means totality has set in. Now, totality takes place when the moon covers the entire surface of the sun. At this point in time, only the sun's corona or outer atmosphere is visible. During the totality phase, skies will be dark, but not as dark as it is during night. It is also safe to remove your eclipse safety glasses and look at the sun with your naked eye. Take time to observe the world around you during this phase. You may be able to witness a 360-degree sunset and see stars, planets, and maybe even a comet too. During totality, you can also expect to have a distinct drop in temperatures. Birds, insects, and other wildlife will become quiet as well. Throughout the entire time of totality, the moon will be moving across the sun, and eventually sunlight will pop back out on the opposite side of where the diamond ring was first shown. This marks the end to totality. As soon as sunlight reappears, you must put your safety glasses back on to safely view the eclipse. As totality ends, the third contact phase begins. This is the phase where the moon moves away from the sun. The third contact phase is much like second contact, but now in reverse. So just like you had the chance to get a look at the diamond ring, Bailey beads, and shadow bands, you'll be able to witness those things once again. Finally, the last stage of the eclipse will occur as the moon completely leaves the face of the sun. As the full disk of the sun reappears, the eclipse will officially be over. Get a good look at your screen right now. These are the important times you'll want to be outside during the eclipse. We wanted to inform you on some of the different times of when the eclipse starts in Central Texas, along with the start time to totality and when the event comes to a close. We picked 7 locations across Central Texas, but as you can see, the start times in our area only differ by a few minutes. So if you're wanting to plan on when you need to be outside and you don't see where you live on this chart, you'll want to take note of the times from the location you are closest to. But But you can also find all this information for your exact area by visiting timeanddate.com/eclipse. Just select the total solar eclipse for April 8th, 2024 and enter your location. The website can also be found at the bottom of your screen. Over many centuries, humans have been increasing their knowledge surrounding eclipses. But how did ancient cultures make sense of these celestial events? Coming up next on Weather Extra, we hear from an expert on the ancient Maya culture and learn more on how the civilization reacted when an eclipse arrived. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this special edition of Weather Extra. Total eclipses have been happening on our planet for thousands of years. For Central Texas, it's been more than 100 years since a total solar eclipse passed through. For more on the history behind total solar eclipses and why this eclipse coming up is a once-in-a-lifetime event, here's meteorologist Sean Bellafiore.
April 8th, 2024 will be a day that goes down in history as a total solar eclipse is visible across the United States, with the path of totality being carved right through Central Texas. Now, this is not the first time in our lifetimes that there has been a total solar eclipse moving through the United States, but this is the first one in an extremely long time that totality has been seen in Central Texas. There is a lot of history about and around eclipses. In fact, Joel 2:31 from the King James Bible, the sun shall be turned to darkness and the moon into blood before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. NASA astronomers were able to use this verse to estimate the day that Jesus died. April 3rd, 33 AD is when a lunar eclipse, known as a blood moon, was visible in Jerusalem. A little bit closer to recent history, this painting, or this rock carving, I should say, was found in the Chaco Culture National Historic Park in New Mexico, indicating the likelihood that a total solar eclipse was visible. The rock carving, kind of a sign of history there. This eclipse would have occurred on July 11th, 1097. Even closer to recent history, of course, here was that total solar eclipse that moved through in summer of 2017, starting in Oregon and ending up in off the coast of South America. Now, of course, this was not completely visible here in Central Texas. We only got a partial solar eclipse from that. Prior to 2017, the last solar eclipse visible in the United States, you would have to go back to February 26, 1979. And just in the same way, totality was not seen here in Central Texas, with the path of totality going from the Pacific Northwest up towards the pole. So when was the last time that totality moved through Central Texas before April 8th? You have to go way back when, to July 29th, 1878, where North Texas and a part of Central Texas was under the path of totality from a total solar eclipse. So we're talking over 100 years between totality in our area. And if you're going to ask me when the next time we may see totality in Central Texas is, the answer is literally unknown. The National Weather Service in Fort Worth has this eclipse page where they talk about how rare solar eclipses are. In Robertson County in Hearn, unfortunately, Hearn's missing out on totality in 2024. There has not been a total solar eclipse visible in Hearn since 1286, and there won't be until 2343, a period of more than 1,000 years. So a once-in-a-lifetime experience for sure. And here is Waco, the heart of Central Texas. The next total solar eclipse after April 8th is literally unknown, won't be happening until after the year 3000. Reporting in the studio, I'm Sean Bellafiore, KWTX News 10.
Thanks so much, Sean. We know that total solar eclipses have fascinated people for centuries, but it didn't always used to be that way. For some, it was a rather terrifying experience when the world went dark. Avery Niles brings us more on how ancient cultures made sense of and reacted to a total solar eclipse.
Dr. Thomas Gooder-John is a professor of anthropology at UT Tyler and specializes in ancient Maya culture. He says the eclipse was sudden, unexplainable, a terrifying experience, and they thought the world was ending.
Kanish Ahau is the sun god, and the Kanish Ahau that supports you, the Kanish Ahau that provides you with light, heat, ultimately everything, is suddenly eaten. And that's a terrifying moment.
Gooder-John says that even though the ancient Maya had a very detailed calendar, it is theorized that the eclipse was used as a fear tactic.
That was the source of Maya rulers' power. They would say things like, build me a pyramid or I will take away the sun tomorrow. And they go, yeah. We did that a while back. We're good. And then the sun goes away and everybody says, how big do you want your pyramid?
While this is just a theory, there is evidence to show there was enough known about the solar system to predict it. Gooder-John says it wasn't known to everyone until Galileo came along.
He wasn't the first, but he was the first who really promoted it and popularized the idea that demonstrated that the Earth was not the center of the universe. Nobody knew.
Today, a lot of the cultures either embrace or avoid the event altogether.
Straight ahead on Weather Extra, we dive into something we've been harping on for months now, total solar eclipse glasses. Find out why they are so important on the other side of this break. Welcome back to Weather Extra. 31 million people in the United States live inside the path of totality for Monday's solar eclipse. For the last couple of months, we've been urging you to have the proper eye protection to witness this special phenomenon. When someone looks directly into the sun without any protection, the ultraviolet rays will burn the eye's retina. Dr. Calvin Esbaugh, the chair of ophthalmology department at Baylor Scott & White, says that once that part of your eye is burned, there is no reversing the damage.
Rods and cones in the retina do not regenerate, so you can get a permanent loss of vision and just a central gap in your vision. If that happens, it can get a little bit better with time because there's some surrounding edema and the edema will resolve, but the cells that were damaged are permanent. We don't have any way to fix that.
We want to stress that you are to never look at the sun without the proper eye protection. Throughout the partial eclipse phases, both before and after totality, you must wear your safety eclipse glasses while looking at the sun. During totality, when the moon completely covers the face of the sun, you can take off your glasses and look at the sun with your naked eye. You can only take your glasses off in this event if you are in the path of totality. If you are only seeing a partial eclipse Monday, you must wear your glasses throughout the entire event. You can see on this map here on your screen that majority of Central Texas will experience time in totality, but some of our southeastern areas are not in the path and will only experience a partial eclipse. So if you live across parts of Milam, Robertson, and Leon counties, you will need your glasses the entire time. Another important thing to note, be aware of fake eclipse glasses. On your solar eclipse glasses, you should have a specific ISO certification number. The ISO number you need to look for will be ISO 12312-2 and will be printed on your eclipse glasses. Now, during the total solar eclipse, many will want to capture this once-in-a-lifetime event on their phone or even with a professional camera. But without the proper protection, you could actually damage the lens and your eyes. When a camera is pointed directly at the sun, the unfiltered light can overwhelm and burn its sensors. This is because the lens is bringing the light into focus and magnifying it, which is similar to when a magnifying glass is used to direct light. Therefore, even looking at the eclipse through your camera is extremely dangerous and can cause irreversible eye damage by burning the retina.
Any optical device that uses glass and lenses and mirrors, if that is pointed directly to the sun without any kind of filtering, will, number one, completely damage and destroy the equipment, and again is extremely harmful to your vision.
If you want to take a picture of the eclipse, you'll need an ISO certified solar filter for any camera or phone you plan on using. Coming up next on Weather Extra, NASA is asking for your help during the upcoming total solar eclipse. Find out ways you can contribute to this rare celestial event right after this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Weather Extra. I'm sure you've heard us say this many times before, but this total solar eclipse is a once-in-a-lifetime event. And because of this rare event passing right through our area, NASA is asking those in the path of totality to participate in some programs so scientists can gather research during the eclipse. Here's how you can help.
Now, NASA has several projects that you can actually get involved with as well. Globe Observer is the first one, and that is a way to actually track what the temperature and the cloud coverage is at your location to report that out and help us to understand how the eclipse impacts weather that we experience here on Earth. Now, Sun Sketcher is another project that NASA is offering where you can actually help us to determine kind of the shape and the size of the sun during the eclipse as well. And then finally, soundscapes. So sounds change during the eclipse. And what I mean by that is that wildlife and nature around you may change. And so you have the opportunity to really help us to understand what those sounds are that you're experiencing, whether birds kind of start to nest and chirp and go in, if the crickets come out as well.
KWTX will be live all day on Monday during the Great American Eclipse for every moment of this once-in-a-lifetime event as we track the path of totality across Central Texas. Stay with KWTX on air, online, and on mobile.
You are now taking a look at where our crews will be stationed across the Central Texas for the total solar eclipse. Our crews will be in locations directly in the path of totality like Lampasas, Evant, Gatesville, Killeen, Temple, Waco, China Spring, and Hillsboro. Our KWTX news and weather team will be covering the Great American Eclipse from sunrise to sunset, bringing you all the coverage both again on air and online. We are so excited for this once-in-a-lifetime event and hope you can join us this upcoming Monday, April 8th. Now, throughout the total solar eclipse event, you'll want to be outdoors to witness this once-in-a-lifetime event with your own eyes if you can. While you head outside, you can take our KWTX eclipse coverage on the go and in the palm of your hand. You just have to scan the QR code on your screen right now to subscribe to our Degrees of Science YouTube channel. On Monday, we'll be streaming live on that channel as well as our KWTX Facebook page and our KWTX website. As one final reminder, don't forget to be outside Monday afternoon as the total solar eclipse passes right through Central Texas. For the most up-to-date eclipse viewing forecast, you can head over to our website, KWTX.com. That's all we have for you on this special edition of Weather Extra. We'll see you next time.